This is a KOLN 6 News breaking news alert.
Good evening, I'm Wayne Haverly. We want to update you on the protests that are ongoing here. After several nights of protests, we are having more today. And so far today, we've had peaceful protests. We've had a curfew that went into effect at 8 o'clock tonight, just like last night. Of course, last night after the 8 o'clock curfew, the protesters continued to defy those orders and go out into the streets. And we're interested to see what happens now. It's 8 o'clock right now. There's been a couple of very large protests, very peaceful throughout the day. One of the largest was over on the east side in Laurelhurst Park, and our Hannah Ray has been covering that event. I understand they are on the move, and let's check in with Hannah and get a situation now. Obviously, protesters are not leaving, Hannah.
Thanks, Wayne. We're out here near Southeast 47th and Burnside. This protest started at Laurelhurst Park at about 6 p.m. The crowd then marched over here near the Penumbra building, where they were joined a short time ago by a second group. They've been alternately chanting. At one point, they got some Portland Police liaison officers to walk with them, which was one of their chants, walk with us. So far, no real disturbances. It is, of course, that 8 p.m. curfew time. We're walking through the crowd now. They're surrounding the building on two sides, on 47th and then part on Burnside. It's a very, very large group out here, hundreds of people.
I was over here, and then he came over and told me, and I was like, hey, okay.
At one point, police were directing the crowd to move and continue marching on their route. We've stayed here, though, largely for the last hour or so. No sign of moving yet.
Justin Jackson! Justin Jackson! Justin Jackson! Over here! Woo! That way! Somewhere that way!
The crowd still out here. Of course, we're waiting to see what will happen now that curfew time has arrived. No sign of movement so far out here in Southeast Portland, though. Back to you, Wayne.
All right, thank you. Hannah Ray Lambert live there in Southeast Portland, where those demonstrators that she's with just a short time ago, there were about 3,000 estimated that I've seen out in Laurelhurst Park, and now they're moving, and they were around a former Southeast Portland precinct, precinct. And I do have a tweet here from Portland Police that just came out about the situation that you just saw there. It says that PPB is encouraging peaceful assembly tonight. Our liaison officers are working with the organizers of the demonstration at the former Southeast precinct. That's where you just saw Hannah Ray Lambert standing, and they are encouraging them to continue to march. So the effort right now is to get them to continue to move. Traffic motors are standing by to help facilitate a safety route. So that's what's happening at that location. At the same time, we do have another protest taking place in downtown Portland. Our Jennifer Dowling is there, and this is outside the Justice Center, I do believe. How are things looking there? Obviously, we're after that curfew time, but looks like it's still pretty busy down there, Jennifer.
It is, Wayne. It's still pretty busy, and I think the mood has shifted among the protesters here. I saw about an hour ago a rather festive atmosphere, and we see that from time to time with Portland protests, with people dancing and music, and there's still music here, but the crowd's mood has changed a little bit. They're kind of pushing on toward the Justice Center right now, holding their signs. It's remained peaceful. Just because I'm saying the mood shifted doesn't mean that we haven't seen anything, but there you can see a lot of movement in the crowd. Okay, now we're seeing people throwing things. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's getting, gotta run. I'm sorry. I'm afraid we're gonna get gassed or hit with a flashbang. Is that a flashbang device? Okay.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, it looks like police are aiming and they're gonna throw something at the crowd. Looks like a flashbang. That's gonna go off. Or is that gas? That looks like gas. Things starting to heat up down here. I didn't think it would erupt that fast while I was live on TV. Oh! They threw something flaming at the police. It looks like they threw a device back at them. Now the police have thrown it back at the protesters. It's like a back and forth, like some sort of a game you play when you're little of throwing things. Oh, wow, things really deteriorated rapidly. from the first few seconds even of my live shot. I knew the mood shifted. I could feel the energy change, but I really didn't think it was going to get that busy that fast right behind me. So right now we have what looks like gas flooding into the area in front of the Justice Center. And it looks like protesters are throwing smoke bombs and water bottles, and they're running down here. We had to take a step back. I'm not sure if this gas is going to get in our eyes. We might maybe move back so we don't get gassed. I got gassed yesterday by accident. We tried to stay away from those canisters, but they really, really burn when you get into that really heavy gas. And it looks like it's just flooding out of there. Oh, it looks like a flashbang or a firework from a protester. I can't tell. Oh, wow. That really, really erupted. The crowd here at the Justice Center was big, and protests had been peaceful all day. We had been monitoring it since this afternoon, and we didn't notice any of this type of behavior happening. This is the first I've seen, but protesters really took it to a dark turn. I did talk to Danielle James. She's one of the folks who was out here originally Wednesday night, and they had been doing some peaceful camping. Oh, we're surrounded by gas. I'll tell you about that thought more in a minute. But they had been doing some peaceful camping, and they feel that the protest got taken over. In fact, Danielle told me during an interview earlier this afternoon, and we were going to air some of that at our 10 o'clock on the CW and 11 o'clock, that she felt, oh, here come the police. I see the bubble lights going on the street. She told me that she felt that outsiders had come into the Portland area and kind of taken over the protests. And she also felt that they were giving people in Portland a bad name with the protests that were originally supposed to be in George Floyd's name and to honor him now have changed into something else. And this is exactly what she was talking about. She said the original group did not want any of this type of activity. They wanted to honor his memory and remember him and call for change. She said that she knows that the police are not particularly a favorite of anyone. And she said that she's not necessarily supporting law enforcement, but she said this has gone too far. We got to take a step back. I need to step back because I can't breathe, and so we need to go back. I got to step back here. I just had to. We're keeping going. I'm sorry. I'm kind of in this herd of people. It's like a crowd of people trying to get away.
Yeah, Jennifer, get out of that area, at least as far as that tear gas goes. We'll give you a second. Yeah, Jennifer Dowling right in the middle of that. And as we were talking, you saw Jennifer there just a few moments ago. It was only about 10 minutes ago when everything was peaceful. And as we just started that, and you could see people right behind Jennifer starting to throw water bottles at police. And that's when things turned dark very, very quickly. And Jennifer's just moving to get away from that gas, which has been deployed. Can you... You're far enough away now. Okay, Jennifer. So have you had can you kind of give us a sense of exactly what happened there?
Careful. Okay. Well, Wayne, we were standing closer to where those gas canisters are now billowing out by the Justice Center. And we were getting ready to go live, and I could tell again that, things had kind of shifted from earlier in the day. All of a sudden, people started kind of like pulsing. The crowd was pulsating, moving back and forth. And then all of a sudden, we started to see people throwing things at the police. And then I saw there they threw another gas canister down, or a flashbang. And then I started to see police load up their devices and just toss them into the crowd. Now, there's another member of the crowd trying to throw their devices back at them. That is really dangerous. Those devices, the police at least have tactical gear. But the protesters, they keep throwing it back at the police. This is really dangerous. We did not see this yesterday, like an exchange of these flashbang devices. And when we saw them throwing water bottles at the police, if they don't stop exchanging these objects, like these projectiles, I'm afraid they're going to pull out a more serious round of less lethal devices, which would really hurt. You don't want to be hit by those. So I'm thinking that this could get pretty painful for some of those protesters. They could also get gas.
Now I see.
I don't know how they're out there. They must have gas masks on.
Is that gas or
I hear the flashbangs going.
Yeah, is that a gas or a smoke bomb from a flashbang that's occurred over there to the left of you there?
To the left, that is a smoke bomb from a protester. That is a different type of smoke. That's a smoke bomb from someone in the crowd here. The gas looks a little different, and so. Yeah, okay, now the police are telling me this has been declared an unlawful assembly. So that means they mean business and they're going to clear this area. So that probably means we're going to get those crowd dispersal devices, which gets pretty serious. That means the flashbangs will probably be going into the street and into the park here, and the gas canisters will come out too.
Yeah, can you give us a sense of what the crowd is like right now? I mean, a moment ago, obviously, it was much larger. Have a lot of the crowd left and basically more of the radical fringes of that crowd remain?
I would say that, you know, that could be a fair assessment. We went on a couple marches to Pioneer Courthouse Square where we heard some information about George Floyd. And, you know, the speeches were very powerful. People took a knee. They raised their hands in respect for Floyd. That was very, what I would consider very meaningful and peaceful protest, and that was at Pioneer Courthouse Square. I don't see a lot of those folks left. They may still be here, but I also noticed a lot of other people coming in, and I did notice some backpacks with sticks sticking out of them. And some things that could be used as weapons. It doesn't mean they will be, but we know from past protests that when that starts moving in and we start seeing that, that things can get rowdy. It's just how it is. It's just what we've noticed over the years.
And we do have some reporting, some people here at the station, as they were driving in, they noticed going into downtown that many of the license plates heading into the downtown area over the last couple of hours had Washington state plates. So it appeared there are definitely a lot of people that are out of state down in that area tonight.
Well, Wayne, it's fun. It's good that you mentioned that because I was talking to Portland Police last night as they were doing crowd control and trying to get people clear for that curfew. And one of the officers told me that at one point during the evening, a lot of the arrests that they had been making were people from Beaverton and Vancouver. Okay, I'm going to point over to my right. The photographer, Andrew, has pointed this out. It looks like there's a big group coming down the street here on Southwest Main. They're going to join up with the people who are at the Justice Center. They may have gone on the march after the initial flashbangs were deployed. So I'm not sure if people are going to follow them or what's happening here. It looks like they're coming into the park area here. But we have police down there at the other end of the street on Main Street there, Southwest Main. They just turned off their bubble lights. But they're definitely getting ready to form a line. And they had just declared this an unlawful assembly. They just said that over the megaphone. And so that tells me that they're going to get more serious, although I don't see the tactical vans around that usually would indicate. I'm looking around right now. I don't see the tactical vans with the police lined up on them, ready to go. So, whoa, okay, that doesn't surprise me. I was expecting something like that. Yeah, the crowd continues to respond to that by throwing bottles in the direction of officers that are protecting the Justice Center. And that Justice Center took a huge hit on Friday. I was there when people were tearing it up. And so they've had police protecting it all weekend after it got broken into and people had trashed it and lit a small fire. So there's been a lot of activity around the Justice Center. So police have been protecting it for much of the weekend. But right now, people can't get to it, so they've got a fence around it.
And Jennifer, I know you were so loud down there, but I know that you were down there Friday night when they actually broke into that building and set that fire. Can you kind of compare the scenes? I mean, I know it was a little later in the night on Friday when all of that violence occurred, but if you were to compare what you're seeing here after 2 nights of this, you know, can you kind of compare the scene and the crowd and the feel of what you're experiencing down there tonight?
Well, police have broken up this crowd much faster. On Friday night, it happened later. I don't know if they were expecting it to blow up because there had been people camping near the Justice Center for a few nights. And there was some small protests. They had block the street with some orange cones and some banners that said Black Lives Matter. But for the most part, besides some graffiti, there wasn't a lot going on for a few days. So I think they maybe thought that that would continue, that the camping would continue. I don't know, when Lieutenant Tina Jones talked on Saturday, she kind of indicated that maybe they weren't thinking that it was going to blow up into some crazy riot. It was declared a riot, but she said they were ready on Saturday, and boy, they sure broke those crowds up Saturday. So to compare, this is more like what was going on Saturday. This is about the size of the crowd that was here, maybe. I'm looking around. You know, they had broken up into small groups and then went on the march on Saturday, and there was still a lot of vandalism yesterday, a lot of tagging, a lot of graffiti. We did notice some broken windows, and we were told that people were trying to re-loot businesses by pulling down some of the plywood that was nailed into place at those businesses. And we're able to get in and get some items and get out. One person told us they saw someone loading up a car from a business, and it wasn't the business owner. And then they called police. So things got hairy last night. And the crowd was this size, Wayne, to get back to your point.
Yeah.
It was about like this. So I don't know if that's going to happen tonight, or if police, because of last night, they realized that these small groups went around doing different crimes like that. Not all of them, but some of them. If they're going to crack down harder earlier, that would seem to me to be the way that you could stop some of that stuff from happening, because there is an 8 o'clock curfew right now. People are not supposed to be out. Media is allowed to be out, first responders, emergency crews. If people are having an emergency, they're allowed to be out. But that's what the curfew is for, to prevent any kind of damage that we saw. But again, this is kind of how it started on Saturday. So it is kind of similar to what was happening on Saturday.
And Jennifer, I know it's been a few minutes now since we heard those 2 flash bangs, and I don't care how many times you're in the middle of one of those protests. I know how startling those are when they go off, and that just happened. It's been a few minutes. It seems like things have maybe calmed down a little bit. Are you in one of those waiting modes where everyone's just trying to figure out what is next? What the crowd's trying to figure out what they're going to do. Police are trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Come on, boys!
I think so. I see a lot of police cars coming down Southwest Main here, so there could be a confrontation. Yeah, that might be the quiet before the storm.
Right.
I mean, really? This could be the mobilization. We don't know. Police treat every protest differently, we can guess. Okay, there's the tactical gear. So my best estimate would be that they're going to form a line there on Main, Southwest Main. And I don't know if they'll press forward, though, or if they're going to do. If they're going to enforce this curfew aggressively, or if they're going to let people kind of clear out on their own. If they're going to shoot off some gas canisters and flashbangs and get out of here, I'm not sure. I can say that at the Justice Center, where they were launching items at police and throwing flashbangs back, the crowd has kind of moved over to Southwest Main. It looks like they're still throwing things, but there's not that many people over there. But the officers that are coming down Southwest Main, it looks like there's a huge group of them. And they're beyond that smoke right now. And I don't know if that's a gas canister from cops or if that is a smoke bomb from protesters. I can't tell from the color of the smoke. Sometimes you can tell.
So how far back?
I hear some pops too. So.
Yeah. How far back are the?
Okay, I think the cops are shooting some gas canisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the line back there now. You can kind of see it through the smoke and the haze from that whatever that is. That's smoking, a smoke bomb or a
and you can see we can see in the cameras, we can see items being thrown at the police, hitting at their feet up there. So people are still throwing things. Are those water bottles for the most part? Fireworks? What have you seen them throwing?
Wait, I've seen a lot of water bottles. I mean, everyone has a water bottle out here. So when you're out protesting all day, you want water, and they become an easy projectile for those that are inclined to throw them. Those are the items that I'm seeing that are being most launched at police. I did see some, what looked like maybe something ripped off a sign thrown at the officers that are standing guard over the Justice Center. So I have seen some other things thrown. Protesters get pretty creative when it comes to projectiles. We've seen rocks and bricks and things thrown in the past.
Well, it's
looks
almost
like people are mobilizing here, so we want to keep an eye on that. so we don't get into a mess.
But you know, Jennifer, I think it's
It
important.
always makes you wonder when you see the crowd move.
Hey, Jennifer, can you hear me? I think it's important to point out, though, that
Yes.
earlier in the day, right where you're standing, we had Portland Police Bureau members taking a knee with the protesters in a sign of solidarity. And you know, what a tremendous difference this seems to take when the curfew takes place at about 8 o'clock. All of a sudden, it's not a protest anymore. It turns into something much darker than that.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of times at the 8 o'clock hour, as you've mentioned, or when there's a deadline, that's when you see things get rowdy. There's not always a curfew in place in Portland, but we do notice when there's a deadline implemented, like when police tell people to move or get back, then things get heated, no matter what the protest. If they give an order, then it could inflame tensions, and that could be what's happening. We may have to follow these crowds. I'm not sure if they're marching or what's happening. Looks like they're pushing that way, and maybe this way up Southwest Main. Trying to keep track of what may be happening, what the mood of this crowd is, and what they're doing. So we might get on the move here.